Tech Sideline is presented by First Bank and Trust Company, the bank that puts you first. They can meet your banking and financing needs for personal, agricultural, business, commercial, mortgages, and so much more. Visit firstbank.com to learn more.
It's the last home game of the season for Virginia Tech on Saturday as the Hurricanes come to town. Let's preview the matchup with Miami on episode 455 of the Tech Sideline podcast, which starts right now. We're recording on Thursday, November 20th, 2025 from the Tech Solutions studio in the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. If you're watching the show on YouTube, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and refer the show to a friend. I'm your host, Riley Klaus, and to my left is lead analyst and columnist Chris Coleman. Across the way is our founder and general manager, Will Stewart. To my right is senior staff writer Andy Bitter. And producing the show behind the scenes, as always, is Mr. Nick Brown. Now, we're going to dive into the Miami matchup today, but first of all, of course, the big news of the week was James Franklin officially being hired as the head coach of Virginia Tech football. If you want some extra information on that, watch the latest episode of Talking with Teal. That's a great watch and listen as well. But it's been a few days since on the podcast we've talked about it all. He's made a couple of public appearances and is on the job now for the first few days. What are some of the takeaways over his first few days in Blacksburg?
Well, you know, he won the press conference. Most coaches win the press conference.
That was such a lock that he was going to win the press conference.
Yeah, he won it more than most coaches do. I think really just taking the 10,000-foot view, and I was thinking about this morning, I think Virginia Tech, 10 years after Frank Beamer retired, I think Virginia Tech is finally moving on. Like, I think when Frank Beamer was first replaced, and I think this is the case whenever anybody replaces a legend, whether it's Tom Osborne, Joe Paterno, whatever, that next guy is going to get pushed back. Well, Coach Beamer didn't do it that way, right? Coach Paterno didn't do it that way. Coach Osborne, Coach Bowden, they didn't do it that way. So why do you have to do it that way? So there's always a level of resentment built up from the very beginning whenever the new coach replaces a legend. And then you get rid of that coach, and then you bring in the next coach who is more like the legend. So, all right, this is going to work. And then it doesn't work. And then you realize, well, maybe we didn't have to do it like the legend did it for all those years. And then maybe the next guy, you can really, truly start with a clean slate for the first time. Like, nobody's going to be trying to force James Franklin to win exactly how Frank Beamer won. So I think everything that's happening right now with Virginia Tech football, from the football program itself to the administration to the fan base, I think everybody collectively, for the first time, has finally truly moved on from the Frank Beamer era.
Yeah, there's that old saying, you don't want to be the guy who follows the guy. And this is not a thing, like, I'm not a huge North Carolina basketball fan, but they installed Bill Guthridge as coach after Dean Smith. And there was a theory that Guthridge was going to be that transitional guy. He wasn't really. I don't know how many years he was head coach in North Carolina.
Just a couple.
Maybe 1 or 2 years. Yeah. But I think if that was intentional by North Carolina, it was a smart move to put a guy in there that could kind of be the transitional guy that wasn't really your future guy. And then I think they went and got Roy Williams right after that.
No, they didn't. They got
Matt Doherty. Matt Doherty, yeah.
UNC's the one they've always got to have a UNC guy.
Yeah,
right?
Matt really wiped the slate clean, man. Mm-hmm. I thought, of course, he won the press conference. When he got emotional, it surprised me. I was sitting in the front row. We all got there early, and I had a bunch of people text me and say, man, you guys have really made it. You're all in the front row. How'd you get that to happen? And I was like, well, we showed up at 9 o'clock. Just showed up early, yeah. And just went and sat down in the front row.
Early bird worm situation.
Yeah. So he sits there, and the first time he said Brent Pry's name, he immediately stopped and looked down and said, sorry. And there was a pause, and I thought, what just happened? And then I realized, he was getting emotional about it. So at his intro press conference, he got emotional. Brent Pry got emotional at his intro press conference. Does anyone remember if Justin Fuente got emotional?
Highly doubtful.
Not likely. So that's kind of my takeaway. I can't add a lot to what you guys have already said, but he used the phrase heart and soul many times in that press conference. Then he used it again last night when he was introduced at the basketball game and spoke to the crowd.
I think he said it on McAfee too.
Yeah. So that's his talking point. And I think that's why he got so emotional over the Pry thing. He's Franklin's been a head coach for a long time, and he knows, they get paid a ton of money, cry me a river, but it's a very engrossing job. It does require a lot of personal sacrifices, even though the pay is really good. So he gets that it is a heart and soul kind of thing, and he definitely got that point across.
It's still 24 hours after his presser, and 72 hours since he was officially hired. I'm still kind of amazed that this whole thing transpired in these last 2 months. I was just amazing that Penn State would jettison a guy like this, that he would become available, that Virginia Tech would, pursue him so hard and land him here as the first, new coach hired in this coaching cycle. And I've been trying to think of like an analogy of it's not a perfect analogy, but it's kind of like when the Red Sox got rid of Mookie Betts. And all the Red Sox fans are like, "Why are you getting rid of Mookie Betts?" And the Dodgers are like, "We'll take Mookie Betts." I don't think it's a perfect analogy because I think some Penn State fans were tired of seeing him go. But the success he had there was just like, you got rid of that guy at this point, and the Virginia Tech's like, "You're allowing us to get this guy at this point?" Like that seems like a great situation. So again, I think he's a motivated coach. He's in his prime. He's in a region that fits. He's coming into a situation where Virginia Tech has this, financial boost and is getting serious about competing in this new era of college football. I think all these ingredients combined, it's an overused phrase, the perfect hire, but man, it feels like it's just a perfect spot for him.
Here's your analogy. It's like when the Athletic decided they weren't going to cover Virginia Tech football anymore, and Will and I were like, "Oh, I guess we can hire Andy Bitter now." That's awesome.
Similar salary requirements, too, right?
That is pretty good. The word I keep using and keep hearing from people is surreal. Franklin was at Penn State for 12 years, and I don't think there were a lot of Virginia Tech fans that whole time sitting around thinking, "I really want that guy as my coach."
It wouldn't enter your thought.
Right.
You wouldn't be like, "Oh, he's going to leave Penn State for Virginia Tech there." I mean, that was a better job, a bigger job.
It's like, I really want Nick Saban as my coach.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
Maybe
Okay.
Dan Lanning, maybe Dan Lanning will come here. It's
Right.
like, no, that's not the totem pole. It's not the food chain there.
Yeah, you get used to seeing a guy be the face and the voice of a big program for over a decade, and you don't think he's going to wind up at your place. It's a little less surreal now that we've all sat there a few feet away from him, watched him, heard him talk, and seen him wearing orange and maroon. And it'll get less surreal as time goes by, but it is right out of the gate. It's odd.
Well, and he had a busy day yesterday that he appeared on a lot of different programs, but it felt like this hire also brings a little bit of national buzz to Blacksburg.
How about a lot of national buzz?
For example, I don't think I've done an out-of-state interview on the radio since Virginia Tech baseball was in super regionals, right? I don't remember the last time I did an out-of-state interview for football. Well, this morning I was on in Portland, Oregon, right? So that's what this hire does. Is people in Portland watched our podcast on Monday, and I guess it was Monday, and they decided to get me on. So I'm like, wow. So that's really showed me what a national level hire this is.
What was the last time Tech had a national spotlight on it like this? I think it's probably that Ohio State win in 2014.
That's a good.
Like national media paid attention at that point. Like, Virginia Tech's back,
right?
And Bud's defense, the Bear defense, and
you could probably say like playing
that.
for the ACC title in 2016.
Maybe, but that felt like
game.
such a they were the sacrificial lamb from the Coastal. Nobody thought they'd win that game, and nobody really remembers how close they were to winning that game. Yeah. 20 yards and a 2-point conversion from knocking off the team that eventually won the national championship. I felt like people went into that game going, "This is Clemson's season, and nothing's going to upset that run to the national title there." So maybe a little bit, but maybe the Battle of Bristol. I mean, that was a big deal, but it wasn't like it wasn't a big deal because of Virginia Tech. It was a big deal because of the spectacle of the whole thing. But like for something that Virginia Tech did that was good, it feels like it's been a long time since it's had this kind of national spotlight.
So to all of you who have been texting me and asking on the message boards, yes, I have reached out about having James Franklin on the Tech Sideline podcast. I will read my text to Travis Wells. Travis, hope you're doing well. James Franklin, Tech Sideline podcast. Let's make it happen. Nothing endears a coach to the fan base like an appearance on the TSL podcast. I did not add how popular Fuente was after he came on the Tech Sideline podcast. People were like, wow, And Travis's answer, gonna be a bit.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, after signing day.
It's a 2-week sprint to signing day right now. They have so much going on, putting the staff together. Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything until mid-December, and that's even probably being optimistic.
Yeah,
so just planting the bug in the ear.
As far as putting the staff together goes, David was covering the basketball game last night, and he told us there were 10 to 15 Penn State staff members there getting a tour of the facilities. And by staff members, I don't mean like cornerbacks coach, running backs coach, all that. I mean like chief of staff, GM.
I met one of them, Kevin Threlkel.
Oh, yeah. So he's the chief of staff.
Yeah, Hazel was showing him around the building. And,
right.
I was going up for halftime to get video of Franklin at halftime and met him on the stairway and introduced myself. So yeah, they're around. I mean, it seems like the whole player personnel department is in, and that's the important part right now if you're trying to put together the biggest recruiting weekend possible.
That's exactly right. Yesterday, I think there was an article on a Penn State website about the following 5 names has disappeared from the Penn State football staff directory. Yeah. So they're all going to Tech, but apparently this seems like there's 5 or 6 more from the way David talked last night. So if they're all here, they're already in place, they're going to play a big role in hosting that recruiting weekend.
Well, I mean, what have we always said about Penn State and Prize? Like, man, they had an army up there.
Yeah.
An army of staffers. I mean, that's what it was. Is all that necessary? I don't know, but we'll find out, because I think they're going to have an army of staffers here, especially with so much talk about how your influx of cash into the program, they're going to compete like the big boys. Like, well, that's what they do. They have staffs that's just tons and tons of people to handle every single responsibility you could have within the program.
Literally, where are they going to put all these people?
Because now you've got one full Brent Pry staff, and now you've got extra Penn State staff here overlapping.
I mean, in the meantime, it will be temporary stuff.
Yeah.
Beyond that, though, it feels like they will need to build out something in Merriman to house all these people. Like, it is cramped as it is.
Yeah. I've heard like structurally they can't build up on Merriman. So how would you expand it?
I feel like underneath the dining center that they have, that just looks like it's built.
Some room there.
Like stuff could just fill out underneath that one. I don't know. I played Tetris too much when I was a kid. Just squeeze a block underneath there.
And that transition between Merriman and Jamerson, there's stuff you can do there, and it's. I know facilities aren't a thing anymore, but it's always grinded my gears that Tech never built a dedicated football facility. Where would it go? How would you fund it? I don't care about all that.
Believe me, James Franklin will ask for it.
Yeah.
He's a pusher when it comes to resources. And now, you get a lot in the hiring process, but it doesn't. Now that he's been hired, I don't think that all of a sudden stops. And that was something at Penn State. He was always, the Penn State writers that came down here said that he always brought up the airport runway length in State College. And sure enough, he made a mention about the airport in his opening remarks the other day. He's looking at every facet of this program and trying to make it big time. And, there are areas that still need to be upgraded. And I would imagine that he would be asking for that as well.
I always thought if you built a Torgerson Bridge type thing over Beamer Way, that's a type you can add office space in there, and it's not taking up much ground space because you're building it above the road. I think you've got to think outside the box and some little things like that.
I know it.
Well, lots to look forward to with James Franklin at the helm of Virginia Tech football, but there are still 2 weeks remaining in this 2025 season.
Game this weekend?
Believe it or not. So we are going to now transition to talking about the upcoming contest, which, as you all mentioned, is going to be a big one for recruiting purposes as well. But it's Saturday, November 22nd at 12 p.m. Eastern inside of Lane Stadium against the Miami Hurricanes, who are favored by 17.5 going into this one. Miami leads the series 26-15 all time, and they've won the last 4. But coming into this game, they're 8-2. They opened the season with a win against Notre Dame, with their 2 losses being against Louisville by 3 and an overtime defeat to SMU. But coming into this game, they're ranked 13th in the college football playoff rankings, so they're trying to earn their way in, even with an at-large if they don't win the ACC.
Miami, as usual, they're going to lose a game or two that they shouldn't lose, but this is a very, very talented, very, very good team. This is a better Miami team than last year. Their defense is better. This Miami defense is top-notch across the board.
They took the Minnesota coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, Tech got a look at him in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and then they hired him away.
That's exactly right. And their offense is inconsistent, like Carson Beck kind of was at Georgia. His bad games are really bad, but his good games are really good. But across the board, now that we've seen, how Louisville has dropped off since they lost their starting running back, Miami's the best team in the ACC right now at this point in time.
And they're motivated, I would imagine. I mean, they are currently, and they keep showing up in that bracket projection that they do in the college football playoff. It's like, they're not going to play for the ACC title, guys. Like, you have to factor for an ACC champion in there, and that's going to bump everybody down, and that's going to bump Miami out of at-large consideration right now. Miami can still play its way into at-large consideration by winning these last two against Virginia Tech and Pitt, and hope that the committee at some point just stops memory holing this season opening win against Notre Dame. Like, I'd be very frustrated if I was a Hurricanes fan. I'm like, we're just not counting that game at this point. They're not close enough.
Oh, because it was the first week of the season.
Like, who has Notre Dame beaten since then?
Everybody.
That's so great that, like, oh my gosh, that win puts them head and shoulders above Miami at this point. It's like, do they have a win as good as Notre Dame on their schedule?
Right.
I don't think they do. So yeah, I think Miami probably comes in with a little bit of a chip on its shoulder and saying, we can still play our way into this playoff if we show out in these last couple of weeks. And 2 wins, and perhaps Notre Dame loses along the way, or perhaps some other teams lose down. They could get into this playoff still.
Yeah, a chance to kind of prove themselves. And at the helm of the Hurricanes, it's Mario Cristobal. He's been there since 2022. What have you made of his tenure so far down there for the last few years?
Andy has deep thoughts on
Mario I don't trust him in a close game.
Right.
But I'm not anticipating Saturday being a close game. Like, it's like the last minute and they're either winning or losing by a score, I don't like their chances, even if they're supposed to take a knee at a certain point. He just doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't have that in his toolbox for some reason, it seems like. And a lot of head coaches don't, but he knows how to assemble talent on a team, and he knows how to put together a really talented team that can just outplay you on Saturdays. And this Miami team seems very talented. Certainly, I think they're more talented than Virginia Tech, and if they're talented enough, you don't have to worry about those close matchups at the end.
Well, as we take a look at their personnel, let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Chris mentioned it. Carson Beck is the quarterback for Miami. He was at Georgia for a while. You may recognize the name there if you haven't seen him this season. But Chris, what have you made of his season so far this year?
Yeah, he's sort of an enigma. Like I said, when he's great, he's great. When he's bad. 6 of his 9 interceptions this year have come in 2 games. They're 2 losses. Last year, he led the SEC in interceptions with 12. 9 of those 12 interceptions came in 3 games. He had 3 interceptions in 3 different games, right? And the rest of his season was pretty darn brilliant. So you just don't know which Carson Beck is going to show up. But, as his completion percentage shows, he's a highly efficient, very talented passer, not much of a runner, but he's a guy that, I don't know, he can win you a lot of football games, but he might lose you 1 or 2 along the way also.
4 picks against Louisville in a loss, 2 picks against SMU in a loss.
Close losses.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the game plan to beat him, is to intercept a lot of passes and force him into mistakes. Not exactly Virginia Tech's forte. What do they have interception-wise this year? They're
3, 4.
Nearly last in the country, I think, in turnovers forced with interceptions. So, again, just the matchup doesn't line up great for the Hokies.
Yeah, is there anything you've seen that really flusters Beck to try to force those turnovers, or is it a flip of a coin on how he's playing?
I don't know. I mean, maybe a better scout could find something than I could, but
I think it's always pressure, right?
Probably.
The quarterback plays better under pressure. I mean, you might be like, this guy's got the pressure gene, but yeah, I think they prefer a clean pocket sitting back there. You've got to disrupt his timing, you got to disrupt his feet, and that starts up front.
Mix up your coverages.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just sort of the book on every quarterback out there.
Well, I was thinking pressure in the larger sense, because I thought Louisville came out with a really good offensive game plan in that game, and maybe Carson Beck felt the pressure to perform in a larger sense, not just being
because
rushed.
It was a close game the whole way.
Oh man, I better get it done here.
Yeah.
And it's not just him on offense. We've talked about the talent Miami has. How about highlighting true freshman receiver Malachi Toney, who is a star in the passing game, and also they can just get him in space?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is everybody regards like Miami as, they recruit all these 5-star and 4-star guys and they're studs right away. Well, Tony's a stud right away, but he was only a 3-star recruit, which is kind of hard to believe.
And number 47 in the state of Florida?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he's such a good player. I mean, he's physically really advanced from what I've seen. And they'll get it to him sometimes on some end rounds and things like that. I believe he's got 9 carries on the season. So,
and that factors into the buy or sell this week, so be sure to watch that one.
So really dynamic player. It's like these last 4 games, we knew Virginia Tech's schedule was going to toughen up, and I find myself every week the last few weeks saying, yeah, this guy's a really good player, that guy's a really good player, and you weren't saying that as much earlier in the season, but for these last 4 games overall, saying it a lot more.
That's not fair when Miami is plucking underrated talent like that. Like you expect them to get all the 5-star guys and like, oh, this guy's from just down the road in Miami Beach and he's a 5-star guy and he's a stud and comes in and plays right away. No, the 3 stars, leave the 3 stars for other people.
Right.
If I'm UCF, I'm sitting there going, man, how did we not get that guy?
And up front, they are ultra strong. Miami has only given up 9 sacks all year in 10 games played, and that certainly helps the quarterback out.
Yeah, you can't play in the backfield against these guys. They give up very little penetration, whether that's against the run or against the pass, and that helps them stay ahead of the chains, and that helps them be efficient offensively. They're not like a dominant running game. They're like middle of the pack in the national standings, but they do enough running the ball to make their offense balanced, which opens the door for their passing game to make big plays.
Well, it should be a interesting one on Saturday to see what their offense does. We'll talk about the defense and more components of the game shortly, but before we get too far, Will, what are some numbers that we should be looking forward to ahead of this contest on Saturday?
All right. This episode's Stat Time with Scott Glessner is sponsored by Tech Sideline. Tech Sideline subscriptions specifically. We are told repeatedly how much people love the podcast. And it occurs to me from time to time that there are people that know us only through the podcast. So I'm telling you, if you think we're just a podcast, then you're missing out on a whole other world. Go over to techsideline.com, get yourself a subscription, $12 a month, $120 a year. It's a ton of content. If you think the podcast is good, the website is amazing. And of course, follow us on all social media. I always tell people, go over, subscribe. If you don't like it, email me after a month and I'll give you a refund. I'm not worried about that, but you're missing out on a lot. So we've added roughly 120 subscribers this week in the announcement of the James Franklin hire. So come over and join the party. It's great stuff. All right, so let's get into Stat Time with Scott Glessner. This is the 42nd matchup between Miami and Virginia Tech. 42. Miami has been ranked in 25 of those matchups, and I'm kind of surprised it's not more. Are you surprised it's not more?
I mean, there was a run there where they were on probation and stuff that didn't help.
Yeah.
20 times in the top 15 and 15 times in the top 10. Miami's had a 300-yard passer in each of the last 3 games against Virginia Tech and 4 of the last 5. 2024, Cam Ward had 343 yards. 2021 and 2022, Van Dyke. Tyler, was that his first name? Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke.
Went to Wisconsin.
Yes,
didn't
he did.
do
That's right,
any,
he did.
Didn't do anything at Wisconsin.
I remember seeing him as a freshman thinking, man, this guy can play.
Yeah, and he just never really
That
progressed.
happened a lot at Miami.
Yeah.
Remember
yeah.
Brad Kaya? You're like, this guy's the future. And then it
Oh, I
just,
forgot about
never,
that guy.
We never
took
thought
off.
that about Ja'Cory Harris, Nick. So Van Dyke had 351 in 2022 and 357 in 2021. And then this took me a second. In 2019, Perry had 422 yards passing.
Nicosia.
Nicosia?
Perry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also about 4 interceptions for every 100 yards of passing he had, right? Wasn't that didn't he throw 4 picks in that game? Something like that.
in the first half.
Yeah, first half.
Yeah. Was that the who's the quarterback? Was that the Hendon Hooker game?
Hendon Hooker. 28-0
Hendon
Virginia
Hooker's
Tech,
first
yeah.
start.
Yeah.
That was the week after the Duke game.
We were all picking Miami to just destroy
Miami
Virginia
was
Tech.
favored by like 16 in that game.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, it was a
Tech was
double
up
digit.
28-0 after one. That was amazing. I remember watching that just go, what am I looking at?
And the Tech almost blew
Almost
it.
blew it. That's the game where Alan Tisdale puked in the end zone.
That's right.
Before the play.
Tech got up huge. Miami came storming back. They were down 14. Manny Diaz did the 2-point thing when they were down 14. They got it, so they're down 8. Then scored again. All they need to do is kick the extra point to take the lead. They missed the extra point, so it's still tied. And Tech comes down the other way and scores and wins.
Wow.
Deshaun McLeese game win.
And that was the one where they cut away from the broadcast, and then they wound up replaying the last play. Am I remembering that correctly?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
they thought the game was over or something and cut away, and everybody's like, what in the world is happening?
Yeah. And then they ran another play, like totally off camera. Nobody saw it. And then they had to
Can you imagine if they did that during an SEC game?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, here's a pretty interesting stat. Virginia Tech has not allowed a 100-yard rusher in the last 9 games against Miami.
That's
all right.
Because they're allowing so many passing yards.
That's true. There's only so many plays in a football game.
Hush, Nick. I was going to ask the encyclopedias who the last guy to rush for 100 against Virginia Tech was.
But now
did Nick say it? I didn't hear him.
Duke Johnson. Thanks, Nick.
2014, Duke Johnson had 249 yards rushing in Lane Stadium.
That was a game where Tech was lucky to score.
Yeah.
That was the one where that felt like the point of no return.
That was the end. Yeah,
for sure. Well, Frank had several points of no return.
That one felt like, I don't know if they can come back from this. Right. I don't think they can get a turn.
Tech did not put up a fight that night.
Yeah, that was a Thursday nighter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that was like bread and butter, Virginia Tech. Thursday night, chips are down. What are you going to do in this situation? They were non-competitive.
And Lane Stadium was empty at the end of that game. So that was the 30-6 loss, and Chris referenced this. I know that Chris knows this off the top of his head, and Andy, I'm sure you know it. With about a minute left to play, a Virginia Tech quarterback threw a touchdown pass to a Virginia Tech receiver to keep the scoring streak going. Who was the quarterback and who was the receiver?
In 2014. It was probably Motley.
It was Mark Leal.
Mark Leal.
Yeah, okay. And I don't remember the receiver.
Isaiah Ford.
I was at Isaiah Ford. Okay.
I think that was Isaiah Ford's freshman year.
So they were really down the depth chart at that point.
Yeah.
And I was one of the people who actually witnessed that touchdown pass.
And then Leal left the team in the middle of the season like 2 weeks later because he got a job offer. Remember
Not a bad idea.
Right.
He didn't have a future in football, young man. All right. The last time unranked Virginia Tech played Now I want to take exception to this. This is a stat that is centered around the last time an unranked Virginia Tech team played number 14 Miami. If you go by the CFP rankings, Miami is actually number 13.
Okay.
And Chris, I apologize. I changed your number 14 reference in your preview to number 13. Right. So last time unranked Virginia Tech played number 14 Miami, the Hokies won 42-24 in 2013 in Miami Gardens.
Trey Edmonds game?
Yeah.
4 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that was my trivia question. Who was Virginia Tech's leading rusher and how many touchdowns did he have?
I think he did that without getting 100 yards rushing.
He had a bunch of passing yards too. Yeah, it was just like a complete performance.
All right. Trey Edmonds, 14 carries, 74 yards, 4 touchdowns. Logan Thomas, 25 of 31, 366 yards.
Wow.
So that sent me down the rabbit hole. 25 of 31, and in 2011, Logan was, do you remember his completion percentage in that game?
When what year?
2011, the really classic 2011.
Against Miami?
In Lane Stadium.
That was actually one of the last games before I came on the beat.
Really? So it was like up over 80% that game, wasn't it?
He was 23 of 25 in that game. Okay. And one of those incompletions was a throwaway. And I don't remember the other one. I don't think the receiver dropped it. I think it was just a bad pass. So given that he was 25 of 31 and 23 of 25, I ran all of his numbers against Miami. The game in between in 2012, he wasn't great. He was 19 of 37 for 199 yards. So in 3 games, Logan was 67 of 93, which is 72%, 875 yards, which is 292 yards passing per game, 5 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Well, he's in Lynchburg right now. Can we just go pick him up?
You want to patch him in and talk to him, or
no, put him in the game.
Oh, yeah. that would be nice. And of course, the 2 interceptions came in the 2012 loss. So, the last 3 times Virginia Tech has played a game on the 22nd day of the month. Every once in a while, Scott comes up with these really obscure things. and I'll go through them in chronological order. On November 22nd, Virginia Tech played Wake Forest in 2014.
Good times.
6-3, double overtime loss.
The worst thing in this country's history to happen on November 22nd,
2014.
Maybe not. Students of history would know that.
September 22nd, 2018, ODU 49, Virginia Tech 35.
Oh, my God.
September 22nd, 2022, WVU 33, Virginia Tech 10.
Nice.
Can we stop playing on the 22nd of the month, please?
It's bound to come up.
We have that to look forward to.
Sheer chance that you will play on the 22nd.
Yes. So it's kind of, let's see, these are a couple of season-ending notes here. The last 4 times Virginia Tech has gone into the UVA game, the Hokies have come into that game with a loss to their previous opponent. And the Hokies have won all 4 of those games, right? The last time they lost to UVA was 2019?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go, just putting it out there. Virginia Tech has lost 4 games in November just once. They went 0-4 in 1950. So you got to win one of these last 2 to avoid the 0-4. And here is, let me pull up my web browser. I wanted to share a stat with you that surprised me. It probably didn't surprise you guys. Marcellus Hawkins and Terrion Stewart have combined for 181 rushes and 1 rushing touchdown and 181 carries.
That's pretty remarkable.
That is.
I mean, it's all drones. I mean, he's got 9 rushes.
Drones has 9.
Terrion Stewart doesn't have any. So the Tech's top 2 running backs combined for 1 rushing touchdown.
Yeah. So there's 1 more rushing touchdown.
Braden Bennett against Wofford.
Braden Bennett against Wofford.
Wow.
Yeah.
11 rushing touchdowns, which is not great. Only 2 from the tailbacks. I would venture to guess that has never happened in Virginia Tech football history.
It's weird they get that. I mean, everything they run down there, it feels like so much option stuff or read plays. And, like, you know, Drones is making the correct reads if he's getting in the end zone on some of that. I mean, they've been stuffed around the goal line as well, so maybe not all.
And they don't exactly get down there very often.
That's another good point.
So that is Stat Time with Scott Glessner, presented by Tech Sideline. Go get your Tech Sideline subscription now if you don't have one.
Indeed. Go do that. Those are some interesting numbers ahead of the contest. We'll be talking about the defense and more components to the game. But first, a message from one of our sponsors at Tech Sideline.
Are you ready for a custom home tailored to your distinctive lifestyle? At Tyrus Homes, a leading custom home builder in the New River Valley, we pride ourselves on crafting exceptional residences that our clients love to call home. Whether you're a first-time buyer, a growing family in search for more room, an active adult seeking a relaxing retreat, or looking for a higher-end custom home that offers luxury and sophistication, we have the perfect solution for you. Discover how you can bring your dream home to life at TyrusHomes.com. That's TYRIS Homes.com.
Well, as we continue the conversation, we go to Miami's defense, which is simply put very good on pretty much every single category you could look into. So what stands out the most to you when you look at this Hurricanes defense?
They got a lot of talent up front, especially at the defensive end position. You know, Ruben Bain's going to be one of the top picks in the draft. He gets double teamed all the time. I think he's got 54 quarterback pressure this year. Hasn't put up huge numbers, probably because of a lot of double teams, but their other defensive end, Akeem Messidor, he actually has more tackles for loss and sacks than Bain. I've seen Bain, projected. I looked at some mock drafts yesterday, and I saw one that had him going first overall, one that had him going 12th overall. But I even saw one where Messidor was going 18th overall. So they possibly have 2 first-round picks at defensive end. Fortunately, Virginia Tech's offensive line has been really good at pass protection and all that this year, right? So, now this is probably from a personnel standpoint, the Virginia Tech's most difficult matchup of the year from an offensive standpoint.
And I think that shows up in the rush defense that Miami has. 3rd in the country, 81.8 yards per game. NC State last week, 23 carries, 23 yards. Some tough sledding in the trenches there. And, that's a pretty big deal for a Hokies offense. That's the only thing they can do right now is run the ball. They have not been passing the ball for many yards in these last couple games. They're going to have to try to win this game because I don't think they can run it 50 times against Miami and expect to get all that many yards. It's just really tough to move the ball on the ground.
So when you're facing a tough defense, and you mentioned some of the statistics nationally, if you're Virginia Tech, what do you do to try to take advantage in any opportunity against a strong defense?
You try to shorten the game as much as possible and hope your own defense plays well. That's really the only thing you can do. And again, I'll say it for like the third straight week. Let's get a trick play or two in there at some point.
Man.
Something.
We saw a trick play in the spring game and haven't seen anything since then. Like, what the heck?
Maybe they're saving them all for UVA.
I mean, that'd be funny if it was just like oops, all gadget plays in the UVA game. That's all they do. Just hooking ladders, laterals, flea flickers over and over and over. That would at least be entertaining.
Right.
Anything you see in Miami special teams that really is of note this week?
Not really. I mean, they're solid across the board. It's really hard to return things on them. I think they're only giving up an average of 4 punt return yards per game or something like that. The vast majority of their kickoffs go into the end zone for touchbacks, so probably not finding many yards in the hidden yardage game this week. Tough matchup, man.
Well, there you go. And now we kind of fuse the topic that we began the podcast with the Miami preview. There's a whole lot going on with this program at the moment, especially if you're a current player or coach. How does Virginia Tech try to stay focused ahead of this game against Miami?
I mean, I think you look at it as an opportunity. You know, you're playing a very talented football team, and your next head coach is going to be watching, so you've got a chance to impress. Hopefully they can. I think it would be such a magical moment if Virginia Tech could pull off one of the great upsets in team history with James Franklin there hosting a bunch of recruits, right? So you have to prepare and play as if that's what you're going to do. But I don't think it should be an issue, though, because, like I said, you're playing for a chance to impress your next head coach, or if not, at this point, honestly, you're playing for a chance to impress other coaches somewhere else. Who knows? But ultimately, this is football, and you're supposed to play football because you enjoy it, right? This is another chance to play football, and so I don't see any reason why you can't go out there and play hard. Tech has played hard, all year since Montgomery took over. I don't think that'll be an issue, and I don't think the distractions will be an issue either. If Miami wins a game, which they probably should, it'll just be because they're better.
Yeah, I think just quickly jump in. Malachi Toney on punt returns, something to watch out for. On special teams, 15.9 yards per return. It'll be interesting because this is such, the Franklin hire and the vibes feel so great at Virginia Tech right now, and everybody's pumped, and you hear him talk, and that's his specialty. You can really pump up a crowd and that stuff. You saw him at the basketball game the other night. I imagine he's going to be the "Let's Go Hokies" guy after the first quarter break.
Gotta be, man.
I mean, is Vegas even putting odds on that right now? I can't imagine. It's off the books.
If it factors into buy or sell.
Yes, it does. It's all these good vibes and stuff, and then there's still like the reality of the roster right now and the reality of the matchup, and it's such an odd juxtaposition there. But it will be interesting to see what the vibe is like in Lane Stadium. I feel like the cloud is sort of lifting in Virginia Tech a little bit, but all of that is for what the Franklin and the coaching staff are going to do next year. Mm-hmm. They're still playing with the team that they had this year, and that one right now is 3-7, and double-digit underdogs in this game and probably in the next week too.
So they'll be trying to win the game on the field, but perhaps even a more future important battle is trying to win the recruiting battle, as this is a huge weekend for Virginia Tech. As with Franklin being hired, they'll be hosting some recruits, and because of the timing of all of it, he can try to take advantage of this last home game.
Yeah, he can. I think that's important, but it's also important to remember that even if a recruit can't make it this weekend, he's still got a couple weeks to where he can still come in. Obviously, Tech doesn't have a home game, but that doesn't mean you still can't host official visitors. I've seen some other schools hosting midweek visitors and things like that. And since it's not like Franklin's going to be in Charlottesville coaching the game next week,
team could be on the road. He could be here doing recruiting stuff, and probably will be.
Probably will be. I'm sure he will be. What's your take, Riley? How many students are going to stay for this game as opposed to going to the next
That's
game?
a good question.
So I don't know that the crowd. I think there'll be more regular people at the game, but I don't know about that student section.
Yeah, a lot of the intel I've had, I think a lot of people are maybe going to stay for the game, especially since it's a noon one, and then go home right
immediately afterwards. Okay.
Yeah, but that should be interesting in terms of attendance. Do you think there's going to be any buzz?
You think immediately afterwards, or third quarter they'll get up and leave and go for the rest of it?
Yeah. Well, the weather's not supposed to be great, so.
Well, I think the rain they've pushed back to Friday, I think, is what I read this morning.
If I'm Tech, I hope for the worst weather possible. Like, make this field a mess. I don't think it's going to be like that. It looks like Saturday might be all right.
High of 62.
Chance of rain 42%.
I mean, it's not even cold. Like, if you're playing Miami in November, you're like, make that thing as cold as possible. It's like, Miami's going to come up here like 60s. I'll wear long sleeves, but I'm not shivering on the
My
sideline.
freshman year, Virginia Tech played Miami on December 1st,
2001,
and I wore shorts to the game.
It was 60 degrees and sunny. It was a great day.
It was beautiful, yeah.
Well, it should be interesting to see the attendance and the atmosphere on Saturday. But now that we've laid out the matchup, who wins this game and what's the score?
I've got it Miami 34-10. I just think it's going to be an extremely difficult matchup for Virginia Tech. That they've done a good job, the last couple weeks hanging in there with more talented teams, particularly in that Louisville game. But Miami's a level above in terms of balance on their football team, I think. And so unless Carson Beck has one of his bad days, it's really hard to see a scenario where Virginia Tech can win this one.
Yeah, I need to look up my score prediction. I said 34-13.
Same ballpark.
Yeah, I just think Miami's offense performs well enough. I think Tech has struggled to stop mostly anybody lately. And I have a tough time seeing Virginia Tech moving the ball with any regularity against this defense. They can run the ball, but that is Miami's specialty, is stopping the run. So you're going to have to pass it at some point. I don't have faith in the Hokies doing that.
So I'm going even a little harder to the hole than you guys. I've got 37-10 Miami. The thing you want to watch for this game is Virginia Tech's scoring streak is 393 games. It's not just the number 4 active streak, it's number 4 all time. It dates back, ironically, to the 1995 game against Miami when the Hokies won 13-7. They had been shut out the week before by Cincinnati.
I was at that game.
That game was...
Speaking of rainy games.
Yeah, the Cincinnati game.
The Cincinnati game.
The Cincinnati game was miserable. The Miami game was the J.C. Price game, as Nick says. So I'm telling you, pay attention to that. That's actually the biggest storyline of this game. If you care about stuff like that, I care about stuff like that. That's a long streak. I was 30 years old when that streak started.
I was 12.
So, Andy, how old are you? You were
95, 16.
Let's just
Not
put it
quite
this way.
yet. No,
If they don't score on Saturday, I'm going to die before they score this many games in a row. Literally die.
God.
Well, this should be an interesting game. Nick, who do you have in this game?
Well, let me pull my face up here. Whoops, that's wrong. There we go. So the last 2 weeks, unfortunately, I've missed the correct score by 1 point each. I predicted 27-16 against Louisville. It was 28-16. I even said Virginia Tech would have a lead at the half, and of course that happened. And then I said that they would get squeezed in the second half. That also happened. I predicted Florida State last week 34-13, 34-14. I'm really hoping I'm wrong this week, but 41-10. That's my final score prediction. Of course, I'd be very happy to be wrong, and Virginia Tech to get one of its most epic, legendary wins ever. Philip Montgomery carried off by the 20 students remaining in the student section at the end of the game. That's
shirtless students.
Yeah, shirtless students that stormed the field. Yeah.
Virginia Tech will get fined $50,000 for rushing the field.
15 fans that ran onto the field.
Nick is just trying to cover up for his dreadful buy or sell show.
Hey,
with his predictions.
I don't
I've
care
only been
anymore.
1 point off the last 2 weeks. You're like 20% in buy or sell now.
Hey, I pour my heart and soul. You will never find someone
Heart
that
and
will
soul,
work
that's
as
hilarious.
hard as possible as buy or sell lines. But anyways,
that's
Virginia
going to be a running joke.
Virginia Tech falling 41-10 is my prediction, and that means that the final score will be like 42-10.
What did David have?
I don't know. David's editing the article right now, so we can't get into it. We haven't posted it yet.
Okay. Oh, we haven't. Okay.
Well, hang on a second. I'll double check that, but I don't think it's posted
It's not
yet.
posted. David had
Hey,
31-7. 31-7 Miami.
So we're all playing in the same ballpark.
Yep, and at least the scoring streak apparently.
What
should
other
stay
Miami
alive.
game
Well,
was-
because how are you going to predict
Exactly,
a shutout,
yeah.
right?
What other Miami game is 31-7 in favor of the good guys?
2003.
Yes. I was thinking 2009, the rainy game. Wasn't that also 31-7?
It might have been.
Well, so we're coming towards the end of the season for Virginia Tech football. It really is going to be just UVA on the schedule remaining. And, once again, there's just a few weeks left, but that's all they're going to have.
And they get their nice bye week to heal up. That bodes well.
Yeah.
Of all the years that they, you think you need it and stuff like that, like this is the one year where you think you wouldn't need it before this matchup, but
You'll take it.
It works out well, yeah.
I was right. 2009 was 31-7.
Okay, so that's always a good score in a Tech mind. Well,
I'll take it.
Yeah, 31-7 would be great this time if it was Virginia Tech, but that's probably not.
That
likely.
would be awesome.
Well, and as we get kind of towards the end here, you mentioned as well, despite the team maybe going to go to UVA the next week, James Franklin can stay here and focus on the recruiting and tours and such. What does the next few weeks look like, James, for James Franklin?
Recruiting, putting together a staff.
Tech Sideline podcast.
Yeah, hopefully. Probably after signing day. But what is signing day, like the 3rd or the 4th?
Third. I think it starts at 3rd
so
this
Wednesday
year.
the 3rd. I would expect some coaches to get announced like as soon as right after the last regular season game. Right?
Yeah, they got to finish their season.
Right.
They're not leaving.
Right. They're not going to
now.
leave like Penn State or wherever they come from.
You can
like,
do
in
that
the
if you're a
middle of the
personnel guy right now.
Yeah,
You can't do
absolutely.
that if you're a coach. That would be a strange look.
Yeah. And I would be interested to see when they announce which staff members he's retaining. We at the press conference yesterday, J.C. Price obviously had a VIP seat because he's J.C. Price. But I was looking up in the crowd, and the only 2 coaches I saw in the crowd were Fontel Mines and Elijah Brooks.
And that's
those
what we've
two-
been saying. That would make
Those
sense.
are the ones that would make the most sense.
Yeah.
I'm totally on the Ricky Ronnie, Colton Joseph train, man. Hire Ricky Ronnie as the offensive coordinator and bring Colton Joseph, the quarterback, with it.
Be a good start.
Yeah, that's a little bit about like transfer portal. What do you make of the fact Franklin on a couple of programs yesterday kind of echoed that he wants to build it from the high school recruits and then use the transfer portal to fill the holes?
I mean, I think that's the absolute correct thing to do. There's a lot of good football players in the 6-hour radius, which I was wondering if he was going to use the 6-hour radius phrase.
Oh, did he say it?
Yeah, he said it during
nice.
the press conference.
I think you're
yesterday.
required to say that.
Yeah, I think so.
They hand you a sheet of paper when you become the Virginia Tech head coach.
6-hour radius. But, the 6-hour radius from Blacksburg and the 6-hour radius from State College,
A little bit different.
they're a little bit different, but there's a lot of overlap, too. Particularly in Northern Virginia, Maryland, some parts of Pennsylvania.
You can even go into Ohio, right?
Absolutely.
Within 6 hours
Yeah,
of VT.
I've actually got a map on
You
TSL.
have it somewhere.
Where I've got the 6-hour radius like in a circle coming out of Blacksburg, and it covers half the state of Ohio, all the way up to Columbus, basically. So it's going to be a lot of overlap, and there's a lot of good players in that 6-hour radius, and that is the proper way to build it, in my opinion. He might not be able to do that in year one. He'll probably end up signing more portal guys this first year than he does in any other year.
He said as much in his remarks. He's like, this is going to look a little different in year one, but long term, he's like, you live by the portal, you die by the portal. You're constantly replacing portal guys with portal guys because they're all veterans and they graduate, and then you got to bring in a new group the next year. And I think you've seen that some programs run into trouble with that. I think Florida State, perfect example, where when you hit the transfer portal right, yes, it's great for 1 year, but then you got to do it again the next year. And I might look at UVA this year. They hit the portal right this year. They have a lot of guys that are moving on from this program after this year. How will they look next year? So if you can do it with recruiting and can retain those guys, I mean, that's the other part of it. You got to develop and retain at this point. I think that's the way most programs would like to do it.
I think you got to strike the right balance. I think you can look at the 2 examples in the ACC. Like you said, Florida State, they sign a lot of portal guys, and sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong, and that's why they're so up and down. Clemson, on the other hand, they don't sign enough portal guys, right? So there's a happy medium that can be found.
So it'll be a busy few weeks for James Franklin coming up. Meanwhile, what can we expect over the next short spell on TechSideline.com?
And he's got a mailbag today.
Riding the Franklin train today with the mailbag, and I guess there's a game Saturday that we have to go to.
Apparently.
It's been overshadowed this week.
Yeah, I've got a Q&A on Friday, which I'll write today, and I've got to spend some time entering a number of new recruits into the recruiting database, which takes a little bit of time, so I'll probably spend tomorrow doing that. That's not content though. That's just preparing for future content. Next week is going to be a short week because of Thanksgiving, but yet there's a lot to cover in a short week. You've got another football game. You've got the battle for Atlantis in basketball, which is huge.
3 games.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what do we have on the audio video side of things as well?
Friday Q&A tomorrow, probably a Talking with Teal next week, if we can squeeze it in with the short week. Of course, next Wednesday, we'll have the preview podcast along with Buy or Sell. I pinky promise this time, we'll have a basketball video probably Tuesday. Does that sound good, Chris?
Yeah.
Cool. We meant to do it this week, and then James Franklin got hired, and, of course, that threw everything out the window. So we'll have a basketball preview for the Battle for Atlantis and recap the first 5 games of the season. Talk a little women's basketball as well. Talk to a sitting head coach at Virginia Tech yesterday in Merriman, and he was super thrilled when I asked if he wanted to come onto the podcast. So I think we'll be able to bring him on, and then we'll have James Franklin whenever that guy gets a free 5 minutes to come on in. I go back to Megan Duffy, who got thrusted onto the TSL podcast her second day in Blacksburg, and then she came in again this year, and she was like, hey, it's cool to actually come in and be relaxed and know who you guys are and not be confused as to where I'm supposed to get my gas and I'm still trying to buy a house. So I promise we'll get James Franklin when everything kind of dies down a little bit.
So when we get Franklin in here, do you think he'll think this new set is big time? I think he will.
Yes. Only if you hang up the Michael Vick jersey.
Yeah. I'll have that definitely ready to go. And we're not joking, by the way, people. We got a jersey frame and everything is pretty much ready to go. It's going to go right back there.
So stay tuned for that. A whole lot of content on Tech Sideline. And as Will mentioned earlier as well, make sure to get a subscription to view everything online as well. Well, thank you for watching episode 455 of the Tech Sideline podcast. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with a friend if you haven't already. For Chris Coleman, Will Stewart, Andy Bitter, and Nick Brown behind the scenes, I'm Riley Klaus saying so long for now.